What's up, guys? It's Mike here, coming at you with another evolution of thought. Today I really wanted just to talk to you about a book that has had a massive and profound impact on my life since reading it a couple of months ago. And that book is a book called The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem by a guy called Nathaniel Brandon. So I really highly recommend that you go and check this book out. Now, for me, I've always had an idea that self-esteem is something that's important, but I haven't necessarily been able to pin my finger on exactly what it is and how it affects your life. And not only that, what are the factors that make up self-esteem? So this book actually covers all of these questions and so much more. Now, self-esteem really does have a huge impact on your life. In fact, it's probably going to affect your success in your relationships, in your business, and just about all areas of your personal life. Now, in the book, Nathaniel talks about his definition of self-esteem. So he actually describes self-esteem as a person's disposition to experience themselves as competent with coping with the challenges of life, as well as experiencing happiness. He then goes on to break self-esteem down into two parts. The first part is self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is your ability to learn what you need to learn, to do what you need to do, to achieve the results that you need in your life in terms of facing all of your challenges. So it may be financially, it may be at work, it may be in your business or your relationship, or even our ability just to form friendships and express ourselves and just communicate as effectively as possible. So that is self-efficacy. The second factor is what he coins the term self-respect. Now, self-respect is the conviction that we have in our own value. So how do we value ourselves? How do we truly feel about ourselves? Do we feel that we're a person of worth, a person that deserves respect, a person that's here to bring value, a person that has a mission, a purpose? Or do we just kind of feel that, I'm okay. Yeah, I think I'm a good guy. Is that you? I don't know. Well, self-esteem really is really quite important. Now, self-esteem actually generates an implicit set of expectations for what we think and feel is possible. So an example I like to give is someone with a low sense of self-esteem very often generates their own failure. And how this might come about, let's say, for example, you get a promotion at work. You, instead of being happy for the job, you feel a bit intimidated. You feel slightly overwhelmed because, let's face it, you're not that confident, but you have what it takes to do the job. Now, for a lot of people, what happens when they're faced with a challenge and they don't feel confident enough in their ability, their self-efficacy to actually do that activity, what happens is they don't actually give it 100%. So by not giving it 100%, very often you're not going to arrive at a place whereby you actually achieve the success that you deserve in that area. And what happens when you don't succeed? Of course, your reality confirms the existing belief of, I knew it. I actually wasn't good enough to do this anyway. You see, I was right. And you get fired. You lose the job. You're downgraded. You're put back again to where you were. So self-esteem really does have a massive impact on all areas of your life. So I really urge you to take a look at this book. I cannot recommend it enough. The framework is fantastic. I'm going to talk to you about the 6 pillars of self-esteem. So not only does he talk about what self-esteem is, where it comes into play in your life, but he also gives you 6 pillars of actionable processes that you can take over time to raise your sense of self-esteem. So it's not necessarily going to change overnight, and that's okay. That's okay. You see, your self-esteem is really built up in your psyche, if you will, based on the decisions that you have made, throughout your life. So if you think about it, in a lifetime, we're faced with thousands, if not millions of decisions. Whenever we make a decision that's in alignment with our purpose, it's expressing who we really are, and it's allowing us to develop and build and grow. Chances are it's going to improve your sense of self-esteem. However, for example, if we do something that actually takes away from our sense of self, it's not an alignment with who we are and what we believe in. Let's say you do something such as you lie to someone. The only person you're really lying to is yourself. Over time, if you're continually lying, it's going to corrode your sense of self-esteem because you're becoming someone that isn't actually you. You're creating a false sense of self, which is never going to have any substance. And it's really important just to factor this in and just think about all of these things. So the first pillar in the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem is the act of living consciously. So by living consciously, it's all about having a mind that's active rather than passive. So making an effort to understand your reality as accurately as you can, rather than simply not bothering. So many people, they find it so much easier just to live in a haze, in a fantasy dreamland, whereby they don't actually make the conscious decision to go out there, research, do their homework, find out as much as they can about what they need to know to make the best decisions. So the more you know, the better decisions you're going to make, the better results you're going to arrive at. The better results you get, the more effective you're going to be, increasing your self-efficiency. And this in turn is going to increase your self-esteem. It's going to increase your ability to grow. So that's really the first pillar of self-esteem. The second pillar, and personally I really believe that this is a massive one for me, is the pillar of self-acceptance. So the moment you can accept who you truly are, the moment you can accept yourself as a whole, so you're no longer denying yourself the facts, the things that you don't want to face about yourself, you accept yourself in your fullness. So you accept the parts of your body that you don't like, you accept the thoughts that you have that you don't like, and you're no longer denying the emotions that you feel. So very often, particularly I know I'm from the UK, in our society, there are good emotions and bad emotions, and bad emotions, well, really we don't want to feel them. We push that to one side. I don't have those bad emotions. I'm good, But really and truly, in order to grow, it's very important that we accept our emotions. And Nathan actually states that if you cannot accept the emotions, accept the fact that you're resisting the emotions and start from there. So that's self-acceptance. That's really the second pillar of self-esteem. Now, the third pillar of self-esteem is the practice of self-responsibility. So this is huge. This really is huge, because if you can't take responsibility for where you're at this very moment in your life, and recognize that it's a byproduct of your own thoughts and actions, then there's really no hope. Because so many of us, myself included at times, I'm really not perfect at this, so I'm by no means preaching, we use excuses. We all have excuses. We all have a but. So for many people, it's I didn't get the right education. My parents and family weren't very loving. Feeling I'm not healthy enough yet because I don't have the money to buy the right food that I need to in order to get my health back on track. So these really are important factors. The more that you can take responsibility, the more that you can move into empowerment, the more you're going to be inclined to take action, raise your consciousness, start making good decisions. And this in turn is really going to feed your self-esteem. It's going to fuel your growth. So the practice of self-responsibility really is huge. The fourth practice is the practice of self-assertiveness. Now, so many of us, myself included from time to time, we do not assert ourselves appropriately. So self-assertiveness is about being able to express your own values, your beliefs, your virtues. What do you feel? Where's your moral stance on situations at hand or at present? And being able to assert yourself appropriately, and I emphasize appropriately. It's not just about running around and being, this is what I think, feel and believe, this is me. But doing it with a bit of a tact, a bit of diplomacy is really quite important. So the more you can assert yourself. Now, so many people, we're also afraid of what other people are going to think. I don't want to be judged. I'm not going to express how I feel there because I kind of want those people to like me. And unfortunately, this is just a byproduct of low self-esteem. So the more you can assert yourself, express your thoughts and feelings, the more true you're going to be to yourself and the greater your self-esteem will become. Okay? So the fifth pillar of self-esteem is the act of living purposefully. So really this is about knowing who you are as a person, what do you believe in, and what are you here to do? What's your purpose? What's your mission? Because so many of us, and it doesn't have to be this clearly defined, a really on point mission or purpose. It could just be a general sense of direction. Now, for so many of us, we don't actually have a clear enough purpose. We don't lock on to anything. And what's going to happen if you don't have purpose? Someone else is going to give it to you. Your boss is going to give it to you. Society is going to give it to you. Your parents, your friends, your family, they are going to tell you what your purpose is. So the more you can decide who you are, who you want to be, what your purpose is, the greater your sense of self-esteem. And finally, the sixth pillar of self-esteem is the act of living with integrity. So this is about really having your shit together, knowing who you are, knowing what you stand for, living consciously, respecting yourself, valuing yourself, and recognizing that you are an integral person. Drawing strength from yourself, being internally validated based on how you think and feel about your behavior, the actions you've taken, rather than leaning on, let's say, your job, let's say your partner, let's say your material possessions. Because everything in the physical world is subject to the law of impermanence. It's not going to last. Whenever you place your sense of self on something else outside yourself, you're immediately putting yourself in a position of vulnerability. So really, this is an amazing book. I really, really urge you to read it. And remember, you can read this book and you can go back to sleep. But I encourage you to internalize all of the factors. I know for myself, there's a number of exercises in the book that you can do. There are so many good examples. And for me personally at the moment, I feel that this is almost my Bible. These are my 6 commandments. You know, how am I living? How is my self-esteem? Am I growing? Or am I doing things that actually detract and take away from my sense of self-esteem? And again, feeding back into integrity, providing you're doing things that coincide with your values. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone else's. Providing they coincide with your values, that's okay. That's fine. So guys, remember, stay conscious, stay well, and really, I recommend you read this book. So thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.